You are letting the media's political theater hijack your peace and derail your kingdom assignment. It's time to fact check the outrage, folks. Welcome to the Transform You Live show. I'm Marcus Hart. Today we are fact checking political narratives. We are conducting our very own independent review of President Trump's State of the Union address. But we aren't doing this to play partisan politics. We are doing this because when the media keeps you in the state of constant outrage, you cannot execute God's vision for your life. Today, we secure the perimeter of your mind. Let's get into the data. For real, for real.
Welcome to the Transform You Live show.
Now, you are being sold a financial miracle, but your bank account is telling you a completely different story. During the State of the Union, we were told this administration ushered in unprecedented historical economic growth. But is that the truth, or is it political illusion? Let's look at the actual numbers. The president claimed record low unemployment, hitting 3.5% before the pandemic. That statistic is factually true, believe it or not. But here's the context that they leave out. That 3.5% wasn't a sudden miracle, as he exaggerated it to be. It was the continuation of a long-term downward trend that started years before he took the oath of office. You can't claim you built the house if you just put the final coat of paint on it. Now, before you celebrate the tax cuts that they promised would change your life, you need to hear what actually happened to your wages. See, they taunted the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act as the ultimate driver of economic expansion. But independent analysis and the Congressional Research Service showed the long-term growth effects were completely mixed. Real wages saw a bump, but when you adjust for the inflation, the growth was actually modest. The system always benefits the top sectors while giving the working class just enough to keep them quiet. Stop waiting for a politician's tax plan to build your kingdom wealth. Apply the 80-20 strategy. Spend 80% of your time building your own legacy and 20% listening to all the noise. If you are ready to build a real authority, hit the link in the description to join the Transform You Media Network News Contributor Network. It's time to take your power back, people. Now, I've been told the border is unprecedented. Chaotic war zone. But what if the all-time high crisis you are terrified of is actually a manufactured narrative designed to get your vote? In the State of the Union, the claim was that illegal immigration levels had reached an all-time high. But we have to fact check the political narratives that they throw at you. According to the Department of Homeland Security, while there are monthly spikes, apprehensions actually declined significantly between the years 2000 and 2017. The issue, though, is actually serious, but selling it as an unprecedented crisis is a fear-based tactic to hijack your amygdala, as we talked about before, and it keeps you anxious, absolutely anxious. And if you think a travel ban on specific nations actually made your neighborhood safer from terrorism, the data I'm about to share will shock you. You see, the administration pushed the travel ban as a necessary shield for national security. But comprehensive reviews of domestic terrorism incidents show that the vast majority of threats were not committed by individuals from those affected countries. It's a classic misdirection. They point you at an external enemy so that you don't question the internal failures. You cannot walk in kingdom authority if you are paralyzed by manufactured fear. It's time to stop consuming their chaos. Step onto the platform. Click the link in my bio to claim your authority launchpad with the Transform Your Media Network and start speaking the truth your community actually needs. You think dropping bombs overseas and signing treaties means you are safe at home. But as a combat veteran myself, I can tell you right now, folks, political handshakes do not erase ideological warfare. Let's fact check the foreign policy claims from the State of the Union. The president claimed massive military success, stating that ISIS territory holdings was destroyed. Actually, that's actually a yes. Military operations caused substantial territorial losses. But here is the truth that politicians will not say out loud. The ideological and operational capabilities of those terror groups still persist to this very day. You can bomb a compound all you want to, but you cannot, absolutely cannot, bomb a radical ideology. But what about the historical peace agreements they promised would fix the Middle East? Remember that? The reality of bringing our troops home is actually much more darker than what you think. The Abraham Accords were a legitimate diplomatic shift. We have to acknowledge that. But the rapid withdrawal of troops from Afghanistan and the negotiations with the Taliban created a transition fraught with absolute chaos. It jeopardized the very stability that we spent decades bleeding for, that my brothers in arms and sisters in arms bled for and died for. Stop fighting global wars in your mind that you absolutely cannot control. Bring your focus back to your own perimeter. Secure your own house. Secure your faith. And start building your own influence. Join the Transform Your Media Network news contributor network today. Stop watching history and start writing it. The link is in the description, folks. Now, and I say this in the most empathetic way, you are paying a fortune just to keep your family healthy. And both political parties are lying to you about why. During the State of the Union, we were told that the healthcare crisis was finally being solved. Don't believe it. The president stood at the podium and declared that the Affordable Care Act had largely failed and was destroying Americans. The reality? The ACA had massive flaws. Yeah, we can admit that, especially with the premium hikes. But it also provided health insurance to millions and millions of people who were previously left to die without coverage. Calling it a total failure is a political talking point, not a clinical fact. And if you think at all that the government is finally about to make your prescription drugs affordable, you need to check your receipts for a second. They promise price transparency and cheap drug importation. But look at the long-term impact. The effectiveness of these policies is actually a smokescreen. Patients are still experiencing massive, crippling out-of-pocket financial burdens that just get to the basics of the necessary medications that they are asking for. They are putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound and asking for your applause. Do not depend on a broken political system for your healing or your provision. God's vision for your life, it does not require their permission. Turn your lived experience into an undeniable platform. I'm urging you. Hit the link in my bio, become an authority contributor with Transforming Media Network, and let's change the culture together. I'm out, folks.
Hey there. If you enjoyed this particular episode and you want to check out more of my episodes, head over to www.marcus-hart.com/podcast and you'll find more exclusive podcasts and other cool things there.